to Viewpoint from Overseas, and your host Faraz Darwesh. Today we have decided to sit in the nice and sunny weather of California in Silicon Valley. It's a pleasant weather, so we decided to have the show outside. I have with me Riaz Haq Sahab and Ms. Azam Sahab. We have various different topics with us on the table. First, we'll discuss what is really going on in James Comey's testimony and what are the next steps. Will President Trump be in trouble or will he not be in trouble? Then we'll discuss the Saudi-Qatar crisis, and it relates to Iran because one of the accusations on Qatar is being in close alliance with Iran and has been supporting ISIS. So we'll see how does that allegation work out, because Saudi is also been accused of funding and supporting ISIS. Then we'll discuss the outcomes in British election, and we'll see whether is it really a hung parliament in England or whether it's not going to be hung parliament. And then in the end we'll discuss the India Pakistan joins SCO as full members towards the end. So Riaz, let me start with you. Tell me, where will this whole investigation go? Do you think will President Trump get in trouble, or will there be a atmosphere of uncertainty which is already happening now? How do you see this?
Yeah, I heard the testimony. I saw it on TV when James Comey appeared before the Senate Select Committee to investigate these issues right now. And it seems to me from the testimony that Comey was fired because he refused to comply with President Trump's request to let go
of Michael
Flynn's investigation, which is closely connected with the entire Russia election interference investigation.
Right.
Whether Russia influenced the election and whether there was any collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russians. So what it appears now is that even if it turns out that there was no collusion, that the that the Trump campaign did not actively work with the Russians to change the election outcome, it is more likely now that there will be a serious obstruction investigation, obstruction of justice, which is actually in itself a major crime. So that is the fear that I think Mr. Trump has right now, and some of the Republicans have, that the Robert Mueller investigation, Bob Mueller investigation, could lead to a finding that there was active obstruction of justice by the president himself.
Ms. Ba, how do you see this?
Yeah, actually, it is true that when I see the testimony, I could easily say that Mr. Comey is a little bit. He also manipulates things. He's also kind of moving things with a lot of things, which most of the time these type of officials, bureaucrats don't do that openly. Like he used the L word a lot. Lie, it is simply a lie for the president, But having said that, that doesn't mean to say that what he said it's wrong. I mean, what he said, and from my point of view, it is going to be a case for the obstruction of justice. That's how I see it.
Let me ask you this: what is I mean, to tell the audience, what is the story Trump administration is giving as an excuse, or whatever you want to call it, as a reasoning behind firing James Comey?
No, actually, they say that very simple thing, that a lot of FBI people did not want him to be in it. And not only that, after this testimony, if you see it, the Trump team kind of declared the victory. But with the same time, they have decided to go to the Justice Department to do the proceeding against Mr. Comey. but the thing is, we all know that president has to come, White House had to come up with some reasoning to say that why they fired it. However, if you see it in very early stage, at one public meeting, it was some sort of White House invitation, and when Mr. Comey went, there's a very famous footage on TV. President Trump tried to hug him, and Mr. Comey kind of avoided that because probably either Mr. Trump was so happy and overwhelmed with this feeling that since he did something against candidate Hillary Clinton, which kind of made Mr. Trump win the election, or President just wanted to show the public that how close they are and how loyal he is to him. And from the memo, what Mr. Comey wrote, you know, from that memo, it seems that President Trump did ask him his loyalty, which of course Mr. Comey declined to.
Riaz, let me go and ask you this: what do you think are the next steps? How do you, if you were to predict this, where do you think this investigation is leading towards?
I think Robert Mueller is going to pursue this with testimony by the president himself under oath. And he will subpoena all of the documents or any tapes that that might exist that Mr. Trump has referred to, that he has some tapes. All of it is going to lead to a direct questioning of the president himself. And if what he says under oath contradicts what the evidence is, then there could be an additional charge. In addition to obstruction of justice, there could be a charge of lying under oath, perjury. And at that point, he will hand it over to the Justice Department, and the Congress will find out what's going on. The issue then will be whether or not they can indict a sitting president. There is no precedent of a sitting president being indicted in the United States. The alternative to being indicted is impeachment. Now, it is highly unlikely that the Republicans would proceed to impeach their own president or Republican president. So it will depend on probably what happens in the next election. If the Republicans feel
Next Congress election.
It's coming up in
next year. 2018.
Right. You know, every 2 years there is a congressional.
I just wanted to make sure you're not referring to the
House of Representatives gets elected every 2 years. At that point, they will have to decide whether or not they want to stand with the president, who has been found to lie under oath and to obstruct justice, and whether they want to risk losing the Congress, or they go ahead with the impeachment, or if they lose, in that case, the Democrats are definitely going to proceed with impeachment.
Yeah, actually, I would say never. Although I do agree with Riaz that it is not very likely that Republicans will go very easily against their own president. But in 1973-74, we saw that it was Republican senators who and representatives who went against their own president. They
weren't a majority at the time.
That's true.
But it was a Democratic majority.
I know, but the thing is that they did go against their president. So basically, that is the thing we have yet to see.
Right. Let me shift gear now, and let's go fly to Middle East and see what is really going on there. Now we are all aware of Saudi-Iran proxies and old news. Now we are now hearing the new bad news. I don't know whether it's a good news. Maybe for some it could be a good news. But anyhow, Saudi, Qatar. Now, first, Riaz, the first part of my question is what really went wrong between Saudi and Qatar? The second question really becomes, is it really of such a high magnitude, whatever the reason is, for Saudi to isolate Qatar, that not even allowing them to, for the food supply, to using the airspace and recalling their citizens and asking Qatari citizens to leave the Gulf countries? Why such a hard stand?
Yeah, it's essentially a blockade.
Right.
That nobody can fly over their airspace to go to Qatar. They have cut trade ties with Qatar.
Right.
Even the food supplies are being cut. So it's a pretty harsh thing that they've done. Now, we know for a long time that Qatar has tried to create its own independent foreign policy, different from that of the Saudi and the GCC countries. Saudi Arabia sees itself as a leader of the Gulf Cooperation Council countries that are in the Gulf region. In fact, they now see themselves as the leader of not only the Arab world, but also of the Sunni world. That's the way they see themselves. And when they see a country like Qatar, a small country, stepping out of line, they want to punish them. So they're sending a message, hey, you know, if you don't follow, if you don't toe our line, we're going to punish you. The thing that they have to worry about is that, will the United States allow this to happen? Even though President Trump has said some harsh things about Qatar, about, you know, them being supporting terrorism, about funding terror, the worry that the United States has is that Qatar is the regional headquarter of CentCom, Central Command, and they have about I think something like 1,000 troops, 10,000 troops actually, stationed there. They fly missions.
The biggest in the area.
Yeah, they fly missions against ISIS
Raqqa and all those
from the airfield in Qatar. Are they going to let Qatar be punished in this way? Because if they do something like this to Qatar, it will affect the United States as well. The other thing to worry about is that Turkey has jumped into the fray now, and Turkey is actually sending troops, deploying troops in Qatar in support of the Qatari government.
No.
So it could actually turn into, I think, most likely there will be some kind of a resolution, particularly under U.S. pressure, telling these countries to back off.
No, the rest.
But if there is not, then there's going to be a lot of problems, because Qatar could go and join, you know, with the Iranians, create a new alliance. Probably Putin would be waiting for this opportunity to go create problems there. He might want to jump into it as well. So before this gets out of hand, I think the Americans will try and control this crisis.
Now, Ms. coming over to you, first of all, tell me the Saudi narrative. The Saudi narrative is Qatar has been supporting the terrorist group like ISIS, Hamas. Now, the question really becomes is Saudi has been accused of supporting ISIS as well, probably at a higher magnitude than Qatar. This excuse really, I'm not bought into this excuse that Qatar was, the reason Saudi broke their alliance with Qatar is because Qatar is supporting ISIS. Well, Saudi is doing the same thing. What do you think is the main core reason behind this breakup of this alliance?
Yeah, if you have to go a little bit in the history. You have to remember a couple of things. This happened 2014 also, when some of the countries pulled their diplomats from Qatar, and they have this concern. See, if you look at it, first question you would ask that Qatar is not a democracy, right? I mean, like Saudi Arabia, like other
None of them are
None of
democracy.
them are democracies.
Right.
Then how the King of Qatar allowed Al Jazeera channel there? You know, Al Jazeera's background is that it was the BBC Middle East branch they wanted to open, but obviously most of the Middle Eastern countries refused to have them. But then later on, what happens, Qatar allowed them on the basis that they will not be intervening in their government and all those kind of things, right? And the main reason is that they do not, Qatari kings, they do not belong to the clan of the Saudi king and UAEs and
Oh,
Kuwait,
they
and
are but they are the same. I mean, ideologically they are same.
ideologically they are same, but the
Right.
thing is that they are not connected to that inner circle, if you will, over there. So basically, Al Arabiya channel was the only channel which was over there, which was controlled by most of this inner circle kind of people. So Qatar allowed Al Jazeera to have something else to counter that effect. Okay, so that is first thing. This is 2014. It happened. Qatar
And
was
then the
always
Egypt
in
thing.
the. And then what happens? Egypt thing. It is true that they
Sisi
were
versus Muslim Brotherhood.
That is correct.
Right,
The
right.
Muslim Brotherhood is stuff.
Right.
We don't have to go into details
Right.
of that. Now, interesting thing happened that this year, what happens that Amir Kuwait, he had some letter to the Iranian president early this year that they want to negotiate with the GCC, wants to negotiate with Iran under A, B, C, D, E, F, G conditions. And President of Iran said, no, no conditions. We will be talking for sure, but no conditions. So Kuwait brought that thing in early March
Of this year.
In the GCC meeting, this response of Iran, but there is no response come from the. Another thing you have to keep in mind that now, going back to your real question, now why they suddenly remember all these.
These accusations coming all of a sudden, right?
All of a sudden is because of the reason that now President Trump came here. He just overwhelmed with Saudis with this thing. So probably Saudis are thinking this is a good time to further push Qatar, and they proceeded on that.
Right.
And when President Trump sent the message, tweet about that condemning Qatar, first of all, he did not probably know that what his Secretary of State already said, who talked about Tillerson said. Second thing, he may not even knew. He may not even know about that there are 10,000 troops there.
Riaz, coming over to you now, the unfortunate incident that happened in Iran, and ISIS has claimed responsibility. It's very alarming. This incident of such nature has not happened in Iran before. So tell us, this whole Saudi Qatari, and then where does Iran fits now that Iran has an issue where he has some ISIS sympathizers within in that Sunni minority population. How do you see this going?
Yeah, it's very, very dangerous. Iran has so far been free of these attacks. This is the first time that they've had a suicide attack of this nature, and that too in the heart of Tehran,
right,
next to the parliament, and also. It was an orchestrated attack,
right,
because they targeted multiple places, including the shrine of Imam Khomeini.
Right.
I think it's very alarming development that the ISIS terror is spreading throughout the region, and it's coming closer to Pakistan all the time. Pakistan already has a serious problem with instability in Afghanistan. And if Iran too becomes unstable, that would just add to the security concerns in the region.
Misbah, how do you see this?
Yeah.
What is the message for Pakistan in this?
Well, Pakistan can hardly do anything, and if you go through the history, you will see that Arabs usually don't want any Pakistan to come there and do anything. You can saw it in Iran-Iraq war. This thing happened.
Oh no, Saudi invited Pakistan.
Saudis are trying to pull Pakistan in right now.
Trying to pull Pakistan into the war.
Raheel Sharif is already there.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying that for the mediation purposes, they don't want to listen Pakistan. And Pakistan.
They just want to hire Pakistan to fight their wars.
That is different.
They don't want Pakistan to
mediate them and all that. That is true. That's what I'm saying.
As a Pakistani, I just don't agree with the type of treatment we get in the Middle East.
There is one very nice
and the type of mentality they have
somebody
about
on
Pakistan.
TV, Nusrat Javed, he gave a very nice analogy from the Pakistani media, that in Pakistani media a lot of these big names, quote unquote, they sit alone and some nice lady sitting there and asking them question, and they are answering, that girl asks question and then they just give the speech, all is scripted, right? So he say that basically Saudi Arabia is that high power journalist, and all those countries in Middle East are those girls actually who just say yes, they're cheerleaders actually. So
basically
that is the
I don't want to deviate from the
there.
Iran incident, but basically, Qatar is now revolting from Saudi dictatorship. Is that correct? Did I put it correctly?
I think Qatar has been trying to cut its own independent path for some time. This is not the first time. And I agree with what Misbah said earlier, that now they're feeling more emboldened by the visit of President Trump and the full support that President Trump gave them, and some of the tweets that he issued afterward. So I think that is a fact that they're trying to use that as a lever to try and hurt Qatar.
Okay, let me move to the next topic in the interest of time. So let's get into the British election outcome. What do you think, and what are the next steps? Is it a hung parliament? Theresa May, has she made the impact? Tell me about it.
Okay. So before I get into this analysis, let me just tell you a couple of important, trivia that are relevant to Pakistan and India. Out of the 650-member parliament, there were 12 Pakistanis, British Pakistanis, who were elected members this time, and 12 Indians also elected this time, and 3 Bangladeshis. So something like 27 of the members are from the South Asia region. It's very interesting to see that some of the people, the Pakistanis in particular, who get elected there are people from very humble backgrounds. Something that can only happen in a British democracy, could not happen in Pakistan. It would be very difficult for these people to even be considered as candidates, much less be elected to the parliament.
So we must appreciate the
absolutely.
level of tolerance
Absolutely.
in England, level of tolerance in
Also,
UK. The
must
world
understand the
capital, London,
difference
has a
between
Pakistani
democracy
mayor.
in the West and democracy in Pakistan. They're very different beasts. They're not the same thing. Yeah. So that's one. Now, as far as the overall election outcome is concerned, Theresa May had gone into this election wanting to strengthen her majority. She already had a big majority. She had I think something like 7 or 8 more seats than she needed, more than the majority. And she wanted to strengthen it and make it an overwhelming majority in order to have a mandate to negotiate Brexit, exit of Britain from the European Union. But she miscalculated. The result turned out to be the opposite. In fact, she lost her majority as a result. Even though the Conservatives are still the largest single party in Parliament, they don't have the majority that they need to run the government by themselves. So now they're having to rely on a partner, and that too from a small regional party, from Ulster, from the Northern Ireland region, Democratic Unionist Party, for this government, and they are going to extract their own. They have their own concerns in the in Northern Ireland. Ireland is a member of the European Union, will continue to be a member of the European Union. Right now there is a soft border between Northern Ireland and the Irish Republic. They want to maintain that soft border, because without that soft border they will not be able to trade with Ireland, which is in the European Union, and a lot of their economy in Northern Ireland depends on the Irish Republic. So it's going to be, I think she's going to have to pay a price for this for this coalition.
Yeah, see, the one reason is that she got 318. She needs 326 seats, as I already mentioned about it. She needs 326, and this DUP, Democratic Unionist Party, they have 10 seats, and they say that they may join them. And as Riaz already mentioned very clearly, that they have troubles coming up. The thing is that there was one of the journalists he's a pundit, a political pundit in British media, and he kind of predicted that Labours will not be winning more than 30, 35, 36% seats, although they've won over 40% seats this time. So overall, the situation coming up, you will see it. What happened, but let me tell you what I see it. Now this Theresa May, with this kind of majority and broken governments, she will be very weak grounds when she go to negotiate Brussels about this Brexit and all those kind of things. And I would see it now that there would be a soft Brexit. I mean, maybe England will come out from European Union, but still they will be having some more. It is a little softer than it was being considered. What basically Theresa May wanted to have, and that's why she went for the snap election.
Okay, so in the interest of Riaz, I want to switch to the topic. India, Pakistan joins SCO as full members. Tell us about it. I mean, I am not fully up to speed on that.
So Shanghai Cooperation Organization was started by China and Russia. I think it was 2010. and it has 6 members right now. In addition to China and Russia, there are 4 Central Asian republics which are members of it. With the addition of India and Pakistan, the membership now increases to 8. Now, one thing that's very important to understand here is that this is yet another reminder that India's and Mr. Modi's attempts to isolate Pakistan are not working. So this is a fairly high-profile, organization which Russia and China are leading it, and Pakistan is a member of it. The good news here, I think, is that both India and Pakistan being on the same forum, they have one more forum where there is an opportunity to try and talk with each other and try and maintain, to reduce tension between the two countries. And hopefully the Russians and the Chinese will influence better behavior between the two countries.
So you mean they will act as a bridge now? They could.
At least they could influence India's behavior, because those are major powers.
Yeah, actually, if you see the overall manifesto and bylaws of these this Shanghai SCO, basically, what you see is that a lot of points are very interesting, that countries have to work together against the terrorism, they have to respect each other's borders and things like that, and those are kind of a push. I mean, the thing is that both Indian government and Pakistani government will have now the reason to proceed further. Actually, it is an opportunity. I'm not saying it is going to happen. There are
plenty of opportunities if they want to have negotiation, if you want to get on the table. But the narrative Mr. Modi has been promoting in India, that narrative, he is basically becoming victim of his own narrative. It makes him more incompetent.
That's true.
More vulnerable to negotiate with Pakistan.
Yeah, and he did all that to get the victories in elections, and then he got stuck in his own commitment trap. He's inside.
So the anti-Pakistan rhetoric is so hyped up in India that Mr. Modi may not be able to effectively negotiate with Pakistan.
But he has an opportunity now to say this thing, that since we are part of that, so for certain things we cannot do. And I am hoping that coming days you will see some better things happening, but I'm not saying that.
Yeah, I think they've ratcheted up the rhetoric very high. I hope they could tone it down.
Yeah, it will be difficult. I agree.
Okay, audience, with a positive note, let's hope for the better future of India, Pakistan, and this regional conflict to go away in our lifetime, or maybe perhaps within next decade, which is understand very challenging, but let's hope for it. We'll be back next week with more topics. Keep watching Viewpoint from overseas.